There is a love coming toward you that will make everyone who knows you question if you are still the same person. Not because of who you will choose, but because of how you will love. This is not about finding someone different. This is about becoming someone unrecognizable in the way you relate, in the boundaries you hold, in the dignity you no longer negotiate. What is about to unfold in your life will disturb those who witnessed your past relationships. They saw you accept less, tolerate ambiguity, silence your needs. They watched you reshape yourself to fit into spaces too small for your soul. And now, when they see you in this next love, they will not understand. The shock on their faces will be the mirror of how far you have traveled inside yourself. The deeper your transformation, the greater their disbelief. Because you have died to a version of yourself that no one thought you would ever abandon. This is not change. This is metamorphosis. And metamorphosis is always violent to witness. The woman who stayed when she should have left no longer exists. The one who translated crumbs as care, who mistook inconsistency for mystery, who believed that suffering was proof of depth. She is gone. What has taken her place is a presence so solid, so clarified that it will seem almost cold to those accustomed to your warmth being a form of self-erasure. You will love differently because you are different, not improved, not healed in the way people expect healing to look, but individuated. And individuation, as Carl Jung understood, is the process of becoming who you actually are, not who you were conditioned to be. There is a particular kind of terror in becoming yourself, not the fear of being rejected by others, though that comes too, but the fear of discovering that the person you thought you were was only a construction, a role you played so well that you forgot it was a performance. When you begin to dismantle that false self, you stand in an emptiness that feels like annihilation. Yet it is precisely in that emptiness that your true form begins to emerge. The discomfort is not a sign that something is wrong. It is a sign that something is finally becoming right. In the psychology of Jung, there exists what he called the mother complex, a constellation of unconscious patterns formed in childhood, shaping how a woman perceives herself in relation to love, care, and worthiness. If your early environment was marked by emotional absence, inconsistency, or conditional affection, your psyche learned to associate love with scarcity. You learned that to be loved, you must prove yourself, you must earn it, you must become indispensable, invisible, adaptable. The mother complex does not only come from the personal mother, it comes from the cultural mother, the collective image of what a woman should be in order to deserve tenderness, and so you became her. The woman who gives more than she receives, who interprets silence as depth, distance as mystery, unavailability as a challenge worth winning. You chose men who could not meet you, not because you lacked discernment, but because your unconscious was trying to resolve an ancient wound. Every emotionally unavailable man was an attempt to rewrite the original abandonment. If you could make him stay, if you could make him see you, if you could finally be enough, then the wound would close, but it never did. Because the wound was never about him. It was about the girl inside you who learned that love is something you chase, not something you rest in. Jung understood that we do not simply forget our childhood wounds. We repeat them. We create situations in our adult lives that mirror the original pain, hoping this time the outcome will be different. This is not masochism. This is the psyche's attempt at healing. It brings you back to the scene of the crime, so to speak, offering you another chance to resolve what was left unfinished. The problem is that you cannot resolve a childhood wound through an adult relationship. The man you are trying to change is not your father. The love you are trying to earn is not your mother's. And until you see that, you will keep choosing the same person in different bodies. You tolerated the intolerable because your internal world told you that asking for more was selfish, that wanting consistency was needy, that expressing hurt was dramatic. You carried the belief that love, real love, requires sacrifice, and sacrifice became your language. You sacrificed clarity for hope, boundaries for connection, self-respect for the illusion of intimacy, and every time you did, you moved further away from yourself. But something shifted. At some point you stopped, not because you decided to, but because the architecture of your psyche could no longer sustain the weight of pretending. The part of you that knew better finally became louder than the part that feared being alone. You stopped seeking validation through a man's attention. You stopped trying to heal someone else's emptiness to avoid facing your own. You stopped performing the role of the woman who saves, who waits, who endures. And in that stopping, the old pattern dissolved. This was not a conscious decision. This was death. The death of a relational identity you had built your entire emotional life around. And when it died, it left space for something you had never allowed yourself to experience. Presence. Not the presence of another, but your own. The ability to sit with yourself without needing to be chosen by someone else, to feel real. What happens in that moment of true aloneness is alchemical. You discover that the love you were seeking from others was always meant to come from within first. Not in the self-help sense of learning to love yourself, but in the deeper sense of recognizing that you are not a half seeking completion. You are whole, and relationships are not meant to fill what is missing. They are meant to meet what is already there. This realization does not make you less interested in partnership. It makes you interested in a different kind of partnership entirely. Jung spoke of the persona, the mask we wear to navigate the social world. In relationships, your persona was the version of yourself you thought would be loved. You hid your needs, you softened your opinions, you made yourself smaller, quieter, easier. You performed femininity the way you thought it was supposed to be performed, agreeable, nurturing, endlessly patient. You became what he needed, not what you were. And in doing so, you lost the thread of your own desire. But now, that mask has cracked. You are no longer willing to play a part. You will not pretend to be less hungry for life than you are. You will not smile when you feel anger, and you will not silence discomfort to keep the peace. You will not translate your clarity into softness so that a man does not feel confronted by your truth. In your next relationship, you will be raw, unedited, whole. And that will shock people, because the world is not accustomed to women who refuse to make themselves digestible. They will say you have become difficult, cold, too demanding. But what they are really saying is that you have stopped performing, and performance was the only version of you they knew how to love. The accusations of coldness are particularly telling. What is being called cold is actually clarity. What is being called difficult is actually having standard. What is being called too demanding is actually expecting reciprocity. You are not colder. You are clearer, and clarity to those who benefited from your confusion will always feel like cruelty. They preferred you uncertain because your uncertainty gave them power. Your doubt made you controllable. Your need for approval made you malleable. And now that you have withdrawn those things, they experience it as loss. But it was never theirs to lose. The shadow in Jungian terms is the part of the psyche that contains everything we have rejected about ourselves. The qualities we were taught were unacceptable. For many women, the shadow holds strength, anger, ambition, sexual agency, the capacity to say no. These aspects are exiled because they threaten the image of the good woman, the likable woman, the woman who does not make others uncomfortable. And when these qualities are pushed into the unconscious, they do not disappear. They are projected outward, but onto others. You projected your strength onto dominant men and then submitted to them. You projected your sexuality onto unavailable men and then tried to earn their desire. You projected your autonomy onto distant men and then made yourself indispensable to them. Every projection was a way of touching the parts of yourself you were not allowed to own. But projection is exhausting, and at some point you stopped. You reclaimed your strength. You stopped being fascinated by men who needed to control you. You reclaimed your sexuality. You stopped being drawn to men who withheld themselves. You reclaimed your autonomy. You stopped needing to be needed, and when you integrated these shadow aspects, your attraction changed. Completely. You are no longer drawn to potential. To the man who could be amazing if only he worked through his trauma, if only he realized your value, if only he grew up. You are done waiting for someone to become ready. You want someone who already is, not perfect, but present, not without wounds, but willing to be responsible for them. The man who attracts you now is not the one who sparks chaos. It is the one who offers clarity, and that will confuse everyone who knew you before. They will not understand why you chose him. He may not fit the mold of what you used to go for. He may be older, younger, less conventionally successful, from a different background. But he will have something your previous partners never had. Emotional maturity, the ability to be still, to show up, to match your energy without you having to lower yours. In Jungian psychology, there is a concept called the animus, the unconscious masculine aspect within a woman's psyche. When this inner masculine is underdeveloped or wounded, a woman projects it onto external men and then becomes dependent on them for qualities she has not claimed in herself. Authority, direction, protection, decision-making. But when she integrates her animus, when she develops her own inner masculine capacities, her relationship to external men transforms entirely. She no longer needs a man to provide what she can provide for herself. And so she becomes free to choose a partner based on genuine compatibility rather than unconscious need. In the past, your relationships were storms. Intensity was mistaken for intimacy. Drama was mistaken for passion. You believed that if it did not hurt, it was not real. If there was no struggle, no jealousy, no cycle of rupture and reunion, then it was not deep enough. You confused suffering with significance, and so you stayed in relationships that destroyed you, believing that destruction was the price of love. But now you know better. Chaos is not connection. Intermittency is not mystery. A man who makes you feel uncertain is not making you feel alive. He is making you feel unstable. And you are no longer available for instability. Your next relationship will be quiet, steady, almost boring to outside observers. There will be no dramatic declarations, no public fights, no emotional roller coasters, and people will not recognize it as love, because they only knew you in the context of pain. They will ask if you are truly happy. They will say it seems too calm, too simple. They will wait for the crash, but the crash will not come. Because you have learned that real love does not announce itself through suffering. It announces itself through peace. And this peace will be the most radical thing about you. There is something profoundly revolutionary about a woman who chooses peace over passion, stability over intensity, clarity over mystery. The culture has trained you to believe that real love must be dramatic, that it must sweep you off your feet, that it must make you lose yourself. But those are the narratives of people who confuse losing yourself with finding love. You have learned that the opposite is true. Real love does not require you to lose yourself. It invites you to find yourself more deeply, and in that finding, you become capable of intimacy that is not based on fusion or fantasy, but on two whole people choosing to walk together. One of the most striking shifts in your next relationship will be your refusal to wait. You will not give infinite chances. You will not stay through ambiguity, hoping a man will eventually see your worth. You will not tolerate breadcrumbs. The first time someone shows you they are not fully choosing you, you will walk away, not with anger, not with bitterness, but with clarity, because you no longer build relationships on hope. You build them on reality. Hope, in the way you used to use it, was a defense mechanism. It kept you attached to people who were not available. It kept you interpreting silence as busy, distance as processing, inconsistency as complexity. Hope allowed you to stay in situations that were slowly eroding your sense of self. But you have let go of hope as a strategy. Now you trust what is in front of you. If a man is interested, he shows it. If he is not, he does not, and you do not wait around to find out which. This will be read as arrogance, as being too picky, as having impossible standards, but you know the truth. Your standards are not impossible, they are simply standards. And the fact that you now have them, that you now enforce them, is proof of how far you have come. The next man who enters your life will have to meet you where you are. You will not descend to teach him how to love you. You will not explain basic respect, basic presence, basic reciprocity. Either he already knows, or he is not for you. And you will not feel guilty about that. Guilt was the old mechanism that kept you tethered to relationships that were wrong for you. You felt guilty for wanting more, guilty for having needs, guilty for considering leaving, guilty for not being endlessly patient with someone's inability to show up. That guilt was not yours. It was installed by a culture that teaches women that their needs are burdens and their boundaries are cruelty. But you have uninstalled that program. You have seen through the lie. And now you know that wanting to be loved well is not selfish. It is sane. There is something crucial to understand about the love that is coming. It will not be a cure. It will not fill a void. It will not resolve an old wound. Because you have already done that work. You have already sat with your emptiness and learned that it is not a problem to be solved. You have already faced your wounds and seen that they do not define you. You have already become whole on your own. And so your next relationship will not be born out of need. It will be born out of abundance. You will not love because you are incomplete without him. You will love because he amplifies a joy that already exists. This is the difference between loving from lack and loving from fullness. And it changes everything. In the past, relationships existed because you could not bear to be alone. Now you are entirely capable of being alone. You prefer it to being with the wrong person. And that preference is what makes you ready for the right one. He will not complete you. He will not save you. He will simply walk beside you. And that will be enough. Jung wrote about the conjunctio, the sacred union that occurs not between two incomplete halves, but between two individuated wholes. This is the marriage of equals. Not in the superficial sense of shared income or social status, but in the deeper sense of two people who have each done the work of becoming themselves, who have each faced their shadows, who have each integrated their inner opposites, who have each learned to stand alone, and who choose from that place of wholeness to walk together. This is the love that transforms, not because it completes you, but because it reflects you. People will not believe it. They will not believe that you can be loved without suffering, that you can be happy without sacrifice, that a relationship can be simple, honest, grounded, and still be profound. They will wait for the other shoe to drop. They will search for cracks. They will ask what you are hiding, because your peace will disturb them. It will confront them with the possibility that they, too, could choose differently. And not everyone is ready to face that, but you are no longer responsible for making others comfortable with your transformation. You are no longer performing growth for an audience. You are simply living it, and if that shocks people, let it shock them. Their disbelief is not your concern. It is simply evidence of how far you have traveled. Your next love will shock them because it will not look like the love they are used to seeing you in. It will not look like struggle. It will not look like compromise of the self. It will not look like waiting, chasing, proving. It will look like two people choosing each other clearly, daily, without negotiation. It will look like respect, like ease, like mutual recognition. And that will be so unfamiliar to those who watched you love before that they will question its validity. Let them question, let them wonder, let them be shocked. Because their shock is not about him, it is about you. It is about the fact that you are no longer the woman they thought they knew. You are no longer the woman who accepts less, who bends, who waits. You are someone who knows her worth and does not apologize for it. You are someone who loves from wholeness, not from wound. And that is the most disruptive thing a woman can do. There will be moments when their disbelief makes you doubt yourself, when their questions make you wonder if this piece is real, or if you are simply avoiding depth, when their concern feels like wisdom and your clarity feels like delusion. In those moments, return to what you know in your body. Does this relationship make you feel more yourself or less? Does it expand your capacity for life or diminish it? Does it honor your truth or require you to hide it? Your body knows the answer, and your body does not lie. Jung said that individuation is the process of becoming yourself. Not the self that was given to you by your family, your culture, your wounds, but the self that was always there waiting to be uncovered. You have uncovered her, and she does not love the way the old you loved. She does not tolerate what the old you tolerated. She does not compromise what the old you compromised. She is clear, she is rooted, she is free, and the love she calls in will reflect that freedom. It will be a love that does not ask you to shrink, a love that does not require you to explain yourself, a love that sees you fully and does not flinch, a love that is not a test, not a battle, not a performance. Just presence, just truth, just two people meeting each other in clarity and choosing to stay. This is what is coming for you, not because you deserve it, but because you have become it. You have become the kind of person who can hold this kind of love, and that changes everything. The truth is that most people cannot hold the love they say they want because they have not become the person capable of receiving it. They are still operating from wound, still seeking validation, still trying to prove their worth through another's desire. But you have moved beyond that. You have done the inner work that most people avoid because it is too painful, too confronting, too destabilizing. You have faced yourself. You have integrated what you found, and now you are ready for a love that matches the depth of your transformation. So when they look at you with confusion, with disbelief, with shock, know that you are doing something right. Know that their reaction is the measure of your transformation. The old you would have needed their approval. The new you does not. The old you would have doubted yourself in the face of their judgment. The new you trusts what she knows. And what you know is this: you are no longer available for love that requires you to abandon yourself. You are no longer willing to settle for connection that costs you your peace. You are no longer interested in potential, in hope, in waiting for someone to grow into the man you need. You are interested in reality, in presence, in someone who already knows how to love and chooses to do it with you. That is the love that is coming. And yes, it will shock everyone, because they did not see you do the work. They did not witness the nights you sat with yourself and chose not to call him. They did not see the moments you walked away from what was familiar, because you finally valued yourself more. They did not watch you integrate your shadow, reclaim your strength, dissolve your persona, and step into the fullness of who you are. They only see the result, and the result is a woman they do not recognize. A woman who loves differently because she is different. A woman who is transformed so completely that her next relationship will be unrecognizable to anyone who knew her before. And that is exactly as it should be. If this resonates with you, if you have walked this path and felt the weight of becoming someone new, Subscribe to this channel and leave a comment sharing where you are in your own transformation. This community is for those who are no longer willing to love from woundedness, who are reclaiming their dignity and who are ready to call in the love that matches who they have become. Your story matters, your journey matters, and you are not alone in this.